Welcome everybody to the channel. Wanted to do a brief video about my paramotor journey in hopes that it could be helpful for those that are wanting to get into the sport and to avoid the problems and issues and mistakes that I made. So my journey began in late 2013. I saw someone flying over my house in Tampa, and it turned out to be this guy. His name is Derek, and he introduced me to the world of paramotoring. He was a great pilot and was looking to get into tandem flying, so he needed someone to be his front landing gear, and I was more than happy to oblige and help him become a better tandem pilot. This was one of my first tandem flights. There's me looking like a weenie in the front, trying not to get my legs tangled up with his. But we eventually got off the ground, and that was the moment that I knew I had to get wings of my own. Here's another clip from an early tandem flight. You can see the excitement in my face. Words cannot express the joy of being in the air. My family's financial situation at the time did not have a ton of margin, so I ended up driving Uber to earn extra money in order to buy my first paramotor rig, and here it is. This brings me to the biggest mistake I have made in my paramotor journey, and that is not being patient to buy quality gear. I purchased the first rig I could afford, and it ended up being janky, and it did not last. The motor was a Corsair MY17 with I don't know how many hours on it, and the seller threw in a wing too, which was on its last legs, and I was constantly having to make repairs, and it was a nightmare. So I spent all of 2014 training with Derek, learning how to kite the wing, learning everything there was to know about paramotoring, and it culminated on this, my very first paramotor flight, December 26th, the day after Christmas of 2014. There's the Dudek wing that came with the motor, my old motor, and this will give you a good idea of how used the wing was. I think I ran 1 or 2 football fields before the wing finally got my butt off the ground. But this was my first flight. I'll never forget it. It was amazing. I think I cried, but anyway, please learn from my mistakes. Here is some phone footage from that first flight. Those of you in the sport, you know what it feels like the first time you get up in the air on your solo flight. Sheer joy in my face. I mean, just look at that. Look how excited I am. I only had about 9 flights on this rig, my favorite of which happened on January 15th, 2015. A few of us took off near the Sunshine Skyway Bridge in Tampa, but mid-flight, my exhaust came loose and began hitting my propeller, and I had to land on the beach. I think my wing landed in a tree. So this part of my paramotor journey culminated in a final attempt at flying on April 15th, I think, 2015. I launched from a nearby church at my house, and the wing was wet, and as much as I ran, it refused to get off the ground, and it ended up in a butt landing and decimated the motor, the propeller, and the frame. I was completely heartbroken. I was frustrated. I got rid of everything and thought I would never ever fly again. Well, in December of 2018, I moved to the hills of northwestern North Carolina in the little town of Boone. And when I saw the mountains and the scenery, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I have to fly here. So before too long, I'd saved up enough money to purchase a very slightly used motor, only 8 hours on it, and I bought a brand new wing. And before I knew it, I was back in the air again. So if you've made it this far in the video, please hear me when I encourage you to be patient. Patience is one of the best tools you have in the sport of paramotoring, whether you're saving for your first rig or even setting up to do one of your first flights. Be patient. Take time to make sure you're doing everything right. And if you are patient, then you will enjoy this for many, many years without injury. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the air.